doing a new video. I'm gonna shoot a couple different things. Got a new partner here. Got rid of Robert because he's on a lockout. Now he's busy with work. But we're gonna talk about something different today with Wing Chun. We're gonna be talking a little bit exactly what is structure. Everyone always says Wing Chun does structure, and everyone has their own interpretations of structure. But I really want to spend a little time and just go over what exactly is the structure process of how we do it. Like, it's not unique how Wing Chun says we have structure. If you look at any other martial art or even a sport, they'll say, like in football, if you want to throw the pass, you know, what happens? You actually have to have the body in place and then in order to throw the ball. In tennis, when you serve, it's the same thing. It's not the hands to generate the racket speed, it's actually the body pushing out and with the legs pushing out in order to serve. So it's not unique, but what is unique is exactly how we approach it and how we actually come about to achieve that particular structure. Now, for example, Danny here, he's gonna make a fist, okay? Now, let's just look briefly at how this is working, okay? Let's say we look at how the interpretation of structure is from an athletic point of view, okay? He's here, and he's pushing hard against my fist, okay? And what they're saying is, overall, is here's my body, okay? I want to have it supported and using the ground, you know, just like how Wing Chun would say, using the ground. And he's pushing against my fist, okay? Now what I'm doing is, you can actually see from here, it's almost like I springboard. I'm springboarding off my motion, and you can see me actually pushing against it to actually overpower him from that point. So in a sense, you could say, look, he's actually using some form of structure. He's using the ground a lot and has his body, and then he's using his legs behind the body, behind the arm in order to hold his position and actually push him against it, okay? Now, obviously, the bigger I am, it works well, you know? But if the guy's smaller and he pushes, you can only handle so much from that before you actually have to adjust to that point. But look at again. So when he's pushing in, my body has to push in back to him and actually generate the, whether it's a little or a lot of muscle, there's still muscle being used to springboard everything in place in order for me to push up. So for example, just like in football, the defensive tackle comes, the offensive tackle blocks, and he's here bracing that force coming in. And this point of impact that we touch becomes what greater. So right here, he's pushing in at 5 pounds, I use my force here, this 5 pound becomes 10 pounds, and if I'm strong enough and I have, I guess you could say, a good structure of muscle behind it, I can actually overpower him and win that battle 9 times out of 10, okay? So in theory, or in the concept of things, sounds just like Wing Chun, you know, structure, but there's some form of muscle being used in that. But I'm gonna tell you that we approach it differently. We don't springboard that force and then use it at that point to generate the muscle. So look here, I'm just in just a regular stance, okay? And what happens is, we'll go over the detail of how this is being done in the pinch. But when Danny pushes here towards me, okay? Now, I'm not using this. See how you can see me like push in? I'm not using my hips to push in or my body to push in to able to deal with that particular force. What actually happens is when he's pushing in, I'm actually using the ground in a different manner. I'm not springboarding it to generate it out. I'm actually using the ground just to basically align myself in place. So when he's pushing towards me, what happens? I'm not actually using muscle to do it. The other way where I'm pushing it this way, yeah, if I do this for about 5-10 minutes, you know, eventually one of us, we're both gonna get tired from that point. But if I use the overall structure in place that I have right away, then he can eventually get tired from this point. And as long as I just keep my alignment in place, I'm actually good. I can do this for 5, 10, 20, an hour.
I'm gonna interrupt with a question real quick.
Okay.
As far as like, when you do meet the force, like he's saying, you know, football player, they meet head to head, the collision, they're gonna fight back and forth, whoever's gonna win is gonna win, right?
Yeah.
But okay, in Wing Chun, when two structures meet, they connect at the point, right? And both people feel the structure, from that point, let's say I reposition, like here's this point, right? and then you're here, you adjust, right? But let's say let's say I'm a muscle head and I want to use muscle to like throw you up.
Yeah.
So I take a step and I try to readjust. You can just hold. You don't have to.
I can, but okay. Well, this question is good. He's basically asking if we're in a demonstration. He's pushing, and I have Hulk Hogan here, and he's pushing 500, 200, 300 pounds, whatever. Okay, I can literally hold the technique. Okay, if I know within my limitation as far as how well I can actually align myself. But in actual application, let's say this was actually in football, and I actually do Wing Chun. Without this ability, okay, what happens? He pushes towards me here, and then he adjusts, and automatically you fall. Right. My actual application of this is with that ability and knowledge of structure. He pushes into me and adjusts, and I can adjust instantly without it. I don't have to stay in place and actually lock myself in place. I can actually from here. He pushes, and I adjust right away to it.
Even if I move, you can still just.
So, like for example, in a fight situation. He does something like he comes to take me down or something like that. He doesn't have to demonstrate, but he comes to take me down. I'm not going to have him close the gap on me, take me down, and I'll be like, oh, I'm rooted into this place. No matter how strong you are, I'm going to be locked into this position. That's not the case. That's the application and the development are totally different things. What's the difference? Why develop that structural ability and structural knowledge? Because if I don't have that ability to actually know how to hold my structure in place, as soon as like any typical person, as soon as he comes here, tries to take me down, you don't have that ability, boom, you fall right away. Automatically you fall. Like if you watch people, I was taking Wing Chun, boom, on the ground right away. Right? But with that ability, when he comes down and I know how to hold my structure in place, I may use that hold for just a blink of an eye. But without that ability to do it for that blink of an eye, there's a difference between able to hold my structure or falling on the ground.
Is that structure and timing, or is that
That's
just
everything. In order to make it work, everything's always working at the same time.
Because for a while I was thinking about it in terms of timing. Like if this person moves, if I don't move at the moment to meet it at the right way, then I'm going to lose either way.
Yeah.
So is that also part of it?
Yeah. All five physical elements are always happening at the same time. Always happening at the same time. You can't say one or the other. You may not be using the five physical elements correctly, but in theory, you want to use it all correct. Okay? That answer your question?
Yeah.
All right. Going back into the example of what's happening here. Okay. First, let's talk about the hand triangle that I'm using right now. Okay, the hand triangle. Okay. When he pushes it, notice my arm. My arm doesn't what? There's two things you don't want to do. You don't want to push back the force, because once I push back, I'm using what? Muscle. Okay. And I don't want when he pushes in, I don't want to fall back here. But if you actually look and go a little slowly here, when he pushes my arm, look, see, a little slower. See how it actually compresses? See how it actually naturally compresses from that point? It actually compresses through that point, so it almost absorbs that force. That's one stage of what's actually happening.
So slow motion, just like.
Yeah, see how it compresses. But look at the difference between compress and actually collapse. He pushes, that's collapse.
Yeah.
He pushes, that's compress. See, just natural, like boom. You squeeze the balloon, boom, naturally it squeezes from that point on. Okay? And so that's the overall whole of the structure. Now, in order for me to do this correctly, obviously the body and the stance has to be in place. Because a lot of times when you see this, when someone pushes, what happens? See how you end up rocking the force back from that point. If you end up rocking that force back right here, then you don't have any connection at all. There's no connection. And one of the key things is how do you connect from this point to this point and that point? Well, if you ever see a Wing Chun guy bring up his shoulder like this, he pushes, there's no way you can connect. See how my shoulder actually from here is naturally sunk. I don't force it like this. I don't force the sink. It's just naturally sunk. If I don't sink it like this, I won't connect to the body and the stance. But if it's rightly, it's up here just a little. See how it goes like this? Right away, automatically it follows me back.
You just change the structure because it's already to.
Yeah, already moves me back. So anytime you see yourself, you feel that force and you feel yourself rock back right away, more than likely this hand structure is by itself. When I have to do it like this, where my shoulder is up, I have to use muscle to deal with this. See, he pushes, and that's muscle. You can see me muscle at that point. But at this point, look, he pushes, there's muscle, and look, I sink, and then relax. See how my arm just naturally relaxes from that sink? Okay? So that's the idea of that compression part that you're dealing when I'm dealing with that particular example. Now, another thing that's happening is when this force comes here, he touches, that's me equalizing the force. He touches this point, I actually have to neutralize that point too, okay? What does that mean? You remember an example when I was pushing back here? This 5 pounds turns to 10 pounds, turns to 20 pounds, and so forth. If that's the case, the bigger guy or whatever, or the guy with more muscle will eventually win. Right. But what happens here is, let's say this is 5 pounds. What happens is, this 5 pounds consistently stays 5 pounds. When he pushes on here, he doesn't feel this. See how I'm increasing the weight? He can feel the weight of it. Right. And when he pushes here, see, the weight stays the same. It doesn't change. 5 pounds to 5 pounds.
So you're saying like compression, like a push, but compression is passive? But well, yeah, it's passive.
Here I'm being active and pushing that forward.
It's freaking hard.
Sorry. No, it's okay. Sorry, it's okay. But yeah, so this 5 pounds that he's pushing in still stays 5 pounds when he's doing that. Now what's happening? What's the process of what's going on here? How is it that 5 pounds can still stay 5 pounds? And you can think of it in the sense that this is like a shield, if I hold it correctly. If I hold the shield correctly, the force that comes in here actually goes back into him, okay? What does that mean? Watch. When he pushes, go slowly in. When he pushes here, and I don't hold the shield correctly, look how there's more weight coming in and actually pushing me back automatically, okay? So that means the alignment, the position I have my hand in at this particular time isn't reflecting the force. It's like I'm holding my shield and it's coming right back at me. So even I try to come in, it's still pushing me back. But at this particular point, if I hold the shield correctly, when he pushes the force back, look.
Yeah,
the more he pushes, see how he's actually rocking himself. So the reason it still stays 5 pounds is when that force comes in, touching at that point, the more he pushes, it's actually reflecting back onto him. So it's not like he's actually adding more. He's actually offset his center from that. Right? Can you see that? When he pushes, look at his center right now, how he's positioned. Right? He pushes here, push hard, hard. Alright, see, look at his center. See how his center is rocking from that point on. So that means this force stays the same if I have it aligned correctly and it reflects back into him.
It's kind of like I'm doing a push-up.
Yeah,
pretty much.
So he basically ends up pushing himself. But if I don't do it correctly, what happens? He pushes me, I push him, and then whoever has better just ends up pushing each other. Alright, so that's one stage that we're talking about with the particular stance. The second stage, and yeah, there's more detail into that, but for now, that's good enough, okay, to understand. The second stage is the stance, okay? The stance, you have the body, and basically the legs following it. Now, notice in the Ichikima, you actually a lot of people end up tucking, right? You tuck. Now, why do we tuck? The tuck is basically, what, a connection from this top triangle to this bottom triangle. But, if I force my tuck, let's say I go like this, I force it here, right? He pushes me. I'm forcing my tuck. This is actually, I have to muscle that in order to do it. And look at my natural structure. This isn't natural. How are you gonna move like this? Okay, because think of it this way. The job of my stance is not for me to so much force my Ichikimi out of work. I don't go like this. He pushes me, I'm going like this. I'm forcing my stance into place. The job for me is just to align it. See, in alignment is when I adjust my tuck, and I adjust my knee, and I adjust my body to deal with the structure, I let him put the force in, not me, okay? So what does that mean? For example, go slowly, he pushes here, and look how I force it. It depends, regardless of what force he's using, he's here, and I force a deeper stance in here. That's not the case. Think of it like, my job is, here's dominoes, right? My job is just to make sure all the dominoes are in place, so that when the force comes in, each one knocks the other one down, and naturally aligns.
Is that like the storage principle? Like if you're already, then you're getting rid of it, you're wasting it.
That's good, because think about it. I'm in my stance, and he's talking about one of the principles of storage. If I'm here, I tuck in all the way, L4, L5. I bend in all the way, bend my knees, and I put my stance at the maximum. He pushes me. I made all the adjustments. The only adjustment I can do now is step back, because I maxed it out already. Right? There's no need to max it out. I just have to hold my body in natural position. And then when he pushes that force in, see, I have room to adjust. But if I max it out already at this point he pushes, the only adjustment I can do is step back. Alright? So, to add on to that, when this force comes in, what happens next? The more he pushes in, the more this forces the L4, L5 to naturally. If I know how to align it properly, actually adjust. See how I'm tucking in? Now I don't have it stuck out. If I stick out my butt like this, there's no way. There's no room for alignment. That's like me laying the domino pieces. Either they're not connected or it's too far apart. That doesn't work. My job is to make sure it's in line so it connects with each other. So here, I make a little adjustment. I adjust myself here a little so it lines in place. When the force comes in here, he himself is forcing the L4, L5 to actually sink in and adjust. Okay, see that? It's not he pushes, I go boom, I max it out. When he pushes, his force dictates and helps to what? Compress the L4, L5, not me doing it itself. My job is just to make sure it lines up. So a lot of times people have problems with when he pushes in, you feel this. That means your alignment's off. That means as soon as the force kicks in and you feel it rocked into your heels, that means your center's in place. Look at my center right now. Look, looks close, right? I'll adjust it here. See how it's already back in the heel? There's no way I can hold it. It ends up back in the heel. Okay? But if I adjust it here, and he pushes, see, automatically it's in place. Yep. And you gotta remember, holding that center is just a blink of the eye. It can be, you may be thinking, oh, this center feels perfectly in place, but in actuality, just a little off and you're not aware of it, you're already in the back of the heel. Okay?
That's freaking crazy.
All right, so now we have the compressed part, we have the L4, L5. Now, when it gets to that part, L4, L5, then what happens? What's the next stage? When he pushes here, the force comes in, it goes to my knee. Okay, notice I'm not sinking my knee. If I align it properly, it connects to my knee automatically. If I don't align it properly, but if I compress at least to the L4, L5, it goes to the back of the heel, which is a no-no. Okay, so here he pushes, compress, the L4, L5, and then to my knee, and then to the ground. And then there you have the overall connection. See that? I have the overall connection in the stance. Now, if he pushes here, and he sees me like this, anytime you feel more pressure than that, that means you're pushing that force back. You're trying to springboard and actually use muscle in order to hold that position. If that's the case, see, I can mimic it. Oh, Wing Chun instructor, he pushes. That's just pure muscle. Just pure muscle. Eventually, you get tired of holding that muscle. But if the alignment's there, what happens? When you learn how to do it, you go in natural progression of it, and it's nice and relaxing, and you can adjust it. See how I make adjustments based off the natural tension of my body, and if the force is done right, you can see him reflecting and rocking himself back from that. Okay, so overall, just remember, the Yichige Mountain itself is a developmental process as far as learning how to line things, and you can't think in the sense of any form of muscle use. You're literally learning how to go from one point of the body to another, and you're stacking it in domino pieces. In Thailand, it doesn't matter. I could be, let's say, like this. Look at this weird. But if I know how to line it properly, what do? Same thing. Even though I'm in no natural position here, once you develop how to do the stance correctly, it doesn't matter what stance position you're in. You don't have to be rigid and be in Yichige Ma. Okay, I just stand naturally, and you can apply the stance structure. But you gotta eventually get to that stage. All right, that was pretty long.
Can I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
About the spring tension inside of the structure.
Yeah.
That's from like you said, you don't max out the L4, L5, right?
Yeah.
But when the force comes in, if the force gives you so much, when the force goes, you still have that little bit of...
Yeah, you have the natural. You have the natural. In other words, when he pushes me in, he pushes. See how he compresses the body? But when he lets go, my body, see how it naturally rises up. But if you see me go like this, he pushes, and then he lets go, then you know you're actually using muscle in order to hold that. It's natural. See, I don't have to think when he pushes in. See, I would just relax. He lets go. It's natural. See how my body naturally reacted. If you see yourself go like this, he pushes in, let's go, and then like this is not natural.
You're
right?
Calculating in your head.
You can't calculate that. You actually have to know how to hold the tension correctly in order to make it work. All right. Any more questions?
I can't do it, but I can.
You can't do it. It's hard. It looks simple. Look, I tell you, all the concepts of Wing Chun are simple to think about. But in actuality, the ability to do it takes a long time to develop it. And once you develop it, it's very useful, but hard to see. Okay? All right, not bad.